Hey guys, so with the start of My Hero Academia Season 4, a lot of new characters have been introduced, one of them being Mirio from the end of the last season. However, unlike some of the characters from the series, Mirio's quirk isn't as easy to understand. So like always, we are going to go balls deep and explain everything you need to know about Mirio, his powers and quirk Permeation. This might be a start to a series of us covering and breaking down the quirks of your favorite characters from My Hero Academia, but it all depends on you guys. If you want more content like this, then let us know by smashing that like button and get it over 5,000 likes. And let me know in the comment section below which character and quirk you want broken down next. With that, let's just get right into it and cue that intro.
You don't fuck with neck, bro.
Alright, so before I break down Mirio's strength and quirk Permeation, let me quickly run through who exactly is Mirio Togata, also known by his hero name Lemillion. Like my man's power level is over 1,000,000! No, seriously guys, Mirio actually named himself Lemillion because he wants to save at least 1,000,000 people. And that doesn't seem too far-fetched, as our boy Mirio is probably one of the strongest, if not the #1 strongest student in the whole UA high school. So strong to the point that under Principal Nezu's suggestion, the former #1 hero All Might, the symbol of peace, was considering to make Mirio his successor for One for All. Obviously until All Might met Deku, but for Mirio to be recognized to this point showcases his reputation. Actually, you can most definitely argue that Mirio Togata is one of the most powerful characters in the whole story, with Mirio having the title of UA most powerful student, along with him already being considered as a very strong candidate for the next #1 hero despite all the other pro heroes around. And yes, that means Mirio is on par with Endeavor. Mirio is also a member of the Big Three alongside Nejire Hado and Tamaki Amajiki. Those names are probably butchered the heck out of. But before his days as the member of the Big Three, Mirio used to have long hair tied into a ponytail, but it is said that he cut his long hair so he could give it to the support class so they could use it to make him a costume that was compatible with his quirk. But we'll get into that in more detail later in the video, but for now, let's quickly get into Mirio's quirk. I know some of you guys want to have a detailed understanding of how the heck does it work. Is Mirio teleporting? Is he warping through time and space? Is Mirio Obito Uchiha and going in and out of special dimensions? Like, what's going on? Well, I believe the series did a good job in explaining it, but I'll try to break it down for you guys. To start off, Mirio's quirk is called Permeation. The term permeation is used in a scientific sense to describe the diffusion of molecules, where through diffusion, molecules will move from a high concentration to a low concentration. An example of the use of this word is the water permeated the sand, or the rain permeated through the soil, or Mirio permeated the walls. This type of ability seems very familiar. Most of you comic nerds who know X-Men should be recognizing Kitty Pryde's mutant ability to phase through matter. Yes, Mirio's quirk being inspired by this isn't really far-fetched, as the author Kohei Horikoshi was heavily inspired by the MCU and the DC universe. However, even though both of the abilities are very similar, they are in fact different. Whilst Kitty's power is literally to phase through matter, she has control over molecules around her, where she can interact with it to a degree where she is able to change its tangibility. Hence, she can phase not only herself, but other people and objects she interacts with. This also explains how Kitty is able to walk through the walls without falling into the ground. Kitty literally walks on the air molecules, whereas with Mirio, his quirk only changes his own molecular structure. His quirk Permeation allows his body to pass through any matter such as the walls, floors, and pretty much anything and everything. Going back to the name of his quirk, it's highly likely that Mirio's quirk works by changing the level of concentration gradient of his body's molecules to a very high level, enough to pass through most solid objects and materials, along with other molecules, or a very low concentration to allow everything else to pass through him. Either way, once Mirio activates his quirk throughout his entire body, he can slip through any matter like rain slips through soil. This allows Mirio to slip through the ground itself, disappearing from the target's sight of vision. When Mirio chooses to deactivate his quirk, the part of his body that was permeable shoots right back out of the matter it phases through. So if Mirio activated his quirk on his whole body and phased into the ground, he would shoot right back out instantaneously when he deactivates his quirk, and it will appear as though he had teleported. This is because Mirio's matter gets repelled due to the fact that mass cannot overlap, as two pieces of matter cannot occupy the same space at the same time. So in effect, he does kind of teleport or warp when he applies this process with his quirk, but it's more like a glitch rather than him actually manipulating time and space. This glitch, as explained in the series, is very similar to those of a glitched out video game. In Mirio's case, he utilizes his quirk to escape and ignore enemies' attacks by letting them pass through him, and then he launches his own counter attacks by releasing his quirk at the best possible moment to deliver strong blows to his target. But the thing that is so amazing about Permeation quirk is the way Mirio has mastered it with meticulous precision, making defense against his moves almost impossible. Just to get a little technical here, Mirio can adjust his falling body's direction and positioning to control his ejection trajectory. Along with his use of experience-based prediction, Mirio alters the angle of his trajectory when he gets repelled, effectively resurfacing next to his target of choice, enabling him to strike his target from any angle. This perfection of the quirk is what makes it look like Mirio is teleporting or warping through time and space, when that's not the case at all. So Mirio's quirk is pretty OP, right? Like he got gifted some S rank quirk right off the bat, right? Well, not really. Mirio's quirk is only strong because of his mastery over it, and in reality there is a huge flaw to his quirk, and that is when Mirio uses Permeation, his clothes also slips right through him, leaving him nude. Yes, my man Mirio can never wear normal clothes and use his quirk, unless he's okay with being completely naked and labeled a pervert every single time he fights. Alright, I guess that's not the worst downside, especially since in order to prevent this slight inconvenience, Mirio's hero costume is made from his own DNA, with the support department using his own hair to construct his amazing costume. But that wasn't the only flaw. When Mirio becomes fully permeable, Mirio can't hear, see or even breathe, as all matter goes right through him, including vibrations, light and oxygen. Yes, Mirio is literally phasing through all material substances. The only sensation Mirio keeps is his sense of falling, as he still has mass. So basically, Mirio has to calculate everything from his positioning to the body movement before he activates his quirk and then deactivates it. And in order to phase through the ground, Mirio has to concentrate on activating every single part of his body. But if Mirio wanted to phase through walls or go in a certain direction, Mirio has to make sure not to activate his quirk on his entire body but just a single part of it. From all this, you can see that without Mirio's control over his quirk, he would be completely useless. In fact, he was. Before starting training seriously, Mirio was bottom of his class. Just imagine what will happen every time you activate this quirk while having no control over it. To further indicate difficulty in using this quirk, in chapter 152 we learn that Mirio actually inherited his quirk from his father. In his flashback, we are shown that Mirio's father explained the difficulty in handling the quirk, and due to it, Mirio's father gave up on being a pro hero. He also explained to Mirio that one mistake can cause his entire body to split in half. In order to actually use Permeation effectively, Mirio had to gain mental fortitude in learning to perform complicated set of actions under a second, to even make one move like going through a wall. But to further develop his quirk into being on par with other heroes, Mirio realized that focusing just on controlling his quirk wasn't enough. He had to increase his battle IQ through tons of experience and leveling his overall physical prowess, from increasing lung capacity to maintain being fully intangible, to increase his reaction speed and combat power to actually deal damage. With that, let's get into how strong Mirio actually is, and what other skills he has to make use of his near unmasterable quirk. Starting with his physical strength. Like, it's insane how much physical strength my man Mirio has. He almost seems a bit inhuman with all the gains he possesses, as it seemed that Mirio was able to channel Chuck Norris's spirit when fighting Class 1A, because they got knocked out, or well, pretty much immobilized. As you guys may remember, a single stomach punch was enough to defeat the members of Class 1A in mere seconds. We are talking about Class 1A, who had their fair share of battles in actual combat. Although Todoroki and Bakugo didn't participate in this bout, every other member did. And if you get into the specifics, Mirio was able to one-hit KO Kirishima, who has hardening quirk, with just his normal strength, and it is stated that Kirishima's hardening is on par to steel. It's also said that even bullets are unable to pierce Kirishima's skin, so punching right through it with ease displays a great level to Mirio's power. Later on in the series, Mirio even cracked down on Overhaul's arm enough to injure him to the point where Overhaul sacrificed one of his own allies to heal himself. Now even great fighters like Deku and Sir Night Eye were unable to injure Overhaul at this point, which pretty much speaks volume for Mirio's physical strength. Although one could say this was due to an overall combination of Mirio's skill, not just his strength, but it still goes to show his strength, okay? By the way guys, I'm not comparing Deku's physical strength with his quirk to Mirio's base strength. Come on, that would be stupid. But guys, during Mirio's bout with Overhaul, he was affected by Dedoru Sakaki's balancing inhibiting quirk, and he was focused on protecting Eri, and even then Overhaul was still overpowered by him. But if Mirio's strength wasn't enough to impress you, well, he is also incredibly fast. Remember guys, it only took him around 6 seconds to wipe out more than half of class 1A. Although it is considered that his incredible speed is mostly due to his quirk warping ability, an arguable side effect to his quirk, as I aforementioned, Mirio's quirk makes it seem as though he's teleporting. This is due to the repelling nature of his quirk. Let me re-explain. While using his quirk to pass through a solid, he can release it, but if he's still in the solid object, he will be launched as two pieces of matter cannot occupy the same space. This is what gives him his incredible speed. Mirio might not be the yellow flash of UA High, but he sure is fast. And even without the use of his quirk, Mirio has proved that he has amazing foot speed, like when he was able to catch up to Chronostasis and Overhaul after just a few minutes of entering their hideout. Mirio's ability are on the next level. This goes to prove the level of training Mirio had done to increase his lung capacity to make the best use of his quirk, as it's likely that Mirio trained like a professional runner to achieve his speed. But guys, it doesn't even stop there. Mirio also has an impeccable durability. This is showcased with just the knowledge of Mirio's training regime. To get to where he is now, Mirio had to push his body to new limits time and again, and as I stated earlier, Mirio's father explained to him about the injuries he will occur by using his quirk. It's not unbelievable to assume that Mirio had the experience of splitting his hands and other body parts in half, having it healed later on, which could explain some of Mirio's scar on his body. Later we can see the fruits of Mirio's persistence as his durability and endurance seem to have enhanced. For example, he was able to survive Overhaul's spike attack without using his quirk, which is crazy considering he only incurred a few tolerable injuries. However, with all that, the most outstanding skill of Mirio is his strategic skills. Without his brain power, Mirio wouldn't be able to utilize his quirk the way he does. For example, even with the useful speed side effect of his quirk, Mirio still has to position himself at exactly the right angle in order to pop out where he wants to. Now while Mirio has all of these impressive qualities, there are two notable special moves that we must talk about. First, the Blinder Touch Eyeball Crush. While it may not be as gory as it sounds, it's definitely just as amazing with Mirio's strategic skills. Mirio takes advantage of the human reflex system as he pretends to poke his target's eyes to distract them while he delivers his actual attack with a classic punch to the gut. His second move, the Phantom Menace, and yes, its name was inspired from Star Wars, as that's Horikoshi's favorite sci-fi film. Now the Phantom Menace is when Mirio uses his quirk to repeatedly project himself in and out of his surroundings with incredible speed. Mirio's target could never imagine being able to defend himself against this Phantom Menace, as he continues to repel himself out of the entry point he phases in to another spot while striking them on the path there. His goal is to basically barrage his targets with quick blows. So guys, with all this, how did Mirio, a third year UA student, become so strong? Stronger than many pro heroes and infamous villains. Like, how exactly was he able to control what was thought to be an unmasterable quirk? First, let's start from the beginning. Like many, Mirio's dream to become a hero was inspired by All Might. However, he struggled with using his quirk. Without constant control, Mirio would just slip through everything. But of course, he can't take all the credit. Sir Night Eye deserves some recognition too, you know. he saw the potential in Mirio and truly believed that Mirio would be a great hero and a great candidate to receive One for All, and thus decided to train him. His training allowed Mirio to improve drastically, and Mirio's strategic skill today is mainly thanks to Sir Night-Eye. Mirio learned how to look at the overall picture when in a battlefield, allowing him to make deductive prediction about his opponent, so a lot of his progression was due to the help he got from training under Sir Night-Eye. Now, since the anime is still covering Mirio's final fate, I will not spoil too much on if he does become number 1 hero or not, but we all should know by now that in this anime, the number 1 hero in the end will be our boy Deku. Alright, Deku is OG and always will be, so to make things realistic as possible, the training gap between them will need to decrease. So guys, with that, I hope I broke down Mirio's character along with explaining how his quirk works. Like I said at the start of the video, if you want more content covering other quirks, let us know in the comment section below. Smash that like button, subscribe, ding that notification bell. With that, I'll catch you guys till next time.